Okay, so I'm working on the 1997 Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme SL. Putting the exhaust back on. This is where you tighten it down from, is from underneath, okay? And that's something I notice a lot of other people don't like doing, is getting underneath and show you how that it's really done. You know, they like to do demonstrations with a nice, neat and clean. They don't get dirty. And sometimes the guy taking the picture never actually does the work. Or they want to show it simple. But this is how it's really done. This is how you torque these down. You have to get them tight from underneath the car, alright? I got my jack there holding up the engine still because we got a long ways to go yet. Alright, so you can start the bolts for the exhaust from the top. The other one I got covered up with wires now, but I had that out of the way. And then what I was going to do next was plug this in. But as you can see, that wire is really short, and the plug-in where it goes to is down underneath the exhaust where we just were. So you got this plugs in to the back side of the block, but this goes to your alternator, and almost all of these other plug-ins go to the top of the engine in this area over here. Alright, so what I'm thinking I might do is just splice in a long wire to run nicely and neatly down there and plug it in. That way I can leave all this stuff, you know, that goes to the coil pack goes right here, alright? And all the stuff on the front of the engine, air intake and all that goes way over here now, alright? All that stuff goes on the top to make that much easier to do. And you got to remember, we're setting this car up to go another 200,000 miles when she's finished. Okay, so anything you do with that wiring, you may have to do it again. Alright, you may have to do it again. Wiring gets old and brittle, and you may have to replace some of it, or something may happen, who knows what, and then you have to work on it. And if this was supposed to go down underneath the exhaust and then up and over that way, that's where you're going to have to go in order to make any repairs to this wiring harness. So it might be a lot easier for me to just run this one wire underneath the exhaust, okay? In fact, I'd run it down along the firewall and then safely backing in. Alright, I'm not sure I'm going to do that yet. I'm going to take a while and figure out exactly where all that stuff goes before I make a change. And so while I'm thinking about that, what I'm doing is I put the new starter in. Okay? Nice new starter there. Still got to get my AC compressor. I got ground wires to hook up. I got some little brackets that go in. I still got to find a vacuum line for that, which we will. That could be back over there even. A lot of this stuff comes from the back up to the front, because I haven't found any vacuum lines down in this area yet. I do know these are all ground wires. There's a set and there's a set. And I think with these big ones like this, that probably is going to go right there. And I think this went to the other bolt. That's why I put these transmission bolts like they are. I think that one goes to one and one goes to the other. They're tied together because that's the way they came apart. So we're making progress. I am following a book, but I don't do exactly what the book says all the time, because sometimes their way of doing things is incredibly difficult and time consuming, and you may not even have the tools to do that anyway. And the book we're using is the Haynes Repair Manual. Okay. When I got to having trouble with deciding what to do with my wiring harness, because I didn't follow the book at all until today, because I put this on, I put in all this stuff, I looked at the book at the very beginning, and then I said, no, that ain't right. You know, any 10-year-old boy can figure that out. But I ran into a little problem there, so I thought, well, let's just take some advice from the book and see what it says. So I plugged in that. Dang it, that's hard to see. I plugged in that piece right there where the flashlight's at. I plugged in that. There's another one that plugs in right there. And I put the starter in. So I do take advice, you know, from the repair manuals and maybe even from your videos on how to do many things. But as you've probably already figured out by now, you still got to use your own mind to make your own decisions, because you're only working where you are with the tools that you have. And that's what makes it always difficult to follow somebody else's guidance. But today we made some really good progress in about 2 hours. I'll give O'Reilly's credit. I did buy the exhaust flange repair kit from them today, because I busted one of them off when I took it apart. So, in fact, the engine, the transmission, the starter, that's all from O'Reilly's. So, the nice thing is, all of that stuff all the receipts are kept track of that way, you know, by my account. Of course, they do that at Napa also, and I believe at CarQuest too now. So I can document everything I've done. I can prove that there's warranty on it. When the car's finished, it will be brand new. You know, I got new serpentine belt, upper and lower radiator hoses, all the standard things that anybody would do if they were doing a professional job of installing their own powertrain. So I didn't tighten this down because, as you can see, the radiator's still gotta go in. So I was just kind of mocking this up because I wanted to kind of see where that was when I was putting the exhaust on today. So that's it for today with John Rudy at Rudy Racing.